how far can EZILI, VTSG, and all 8 of our Paragons go on the longest map in the game. Okay, first things first, the point of this run isn't to go as far as possible. I'm not even going to attempt that just yet because there's a few more videos I need to do before I get around to doing that. The point of this video is just to see how far degree 91s, a VTSG, and 1 hero can go. I know at this point you're probably like, why don't you just do a full run? You're basically halfway there, and I'll explain that later in this video. To not be a complete knockoff of H-Bomb's video, we're going to do a little bit differently. It'll definitely be an interesting one to say the least. So we farm away. We start very standard for now on this map that I made. And you're probably wondering, what in the world is this map? I decided on more of an oval map to get more or less a decent number of overlap, as well as there's a little fringe here that you see at the end. And this is so that I can make the track a smidge longer, but not by much, but every little bit counts. Having the map be more oval, the track length will inherently be a little bit longer as well, because the balloons will end up going around the circumference of the oval instead of going straight down a straight line through the diameter. Having some towers in the middle is slightly more beneficial, as some towers, for example Tax Zone, inherently benefit from this more. But we're going to focus on those towers in another video. Map Editor also has 48 nodes instead of 33, which makes tracks extremely long now. So we finish farming around round 68 and we plow through the competition. To be honest, it won't take very long to go through this. Paragons are expensive, and also for VTSG, we're also going to be pretty much max buffing it as much as possible, with the exception of a support Sun Temple buff. So by round 140, we have 15 million, and that's more than plenty. Usually you need about 2 to 3 million per Paragon roughly, and that should be more than enough to purchase everything. After I sell everything, yeah, I have more than enough. So I keep the top half of my farming just in case. And let's go through this. Now let's start by getting some Paragons first. Our first order of business is a degree 91 Navar. On round 143, I would like to squeeze everything around here. Also on last because of the recent patch notes. It'll grant 10% more attack speed. We will also be running with only Paragon of Power, so we're not going to be getting any tier 5s, including Ultra Boost, which I will cover later on. Next up, we go for our next Paragon, which will be our brand new Nautic Siege Core. I don't know how much damage it'll do, but let's hope a ton. I will keep it afloat for now, but I will eventually submerge it for the decreased cooldown once I have everything set up. We end up getting Nautic Siege Core around round 186. Next up, we'll get our Master Builder, and it does take a while. The Sub and Navark are actually doing way too much damage, and it's actually becoming a problem to farm for our Paragons, so we actually end up getting our NG around round 218. Decide to try and get moving along, and I start getting stuff up for my next 3 Paragons, Apex, Glaive, and Magus Perfectus. I decide on getting Goliath and Ascended Shadow last because they're actually pretty easy to farm up very quickly. So by round 250, we end up getting our first Paragon being Magus Perfectus. Now everything is targeted on strong, except for Navark, again on last for the 10% extra attack speed. On round 279, we jump ahead and we have enough for an Apex, so I end up getting a degree 92. My Glaive Dominus is the slowest out of the bunch, but not only a few rounds later, round 282, we end up getting a degree 91 Glaive Dominus, towards the back of the track-ish. Now, our next order of business. Ascended Shadow and Goliath. Pretty quick, literally only 5 rounds later, we get Goliath. That's extremely fast. And even Ascended Shadow is already at 14.4 million at this point, and so not even 1 round later, we end up getting our degree 91 Ascended Shadow. And now it's time to rearrange everything to my liking. First, we get a VTSG. I make this VTSG a 1011 into a 2122. I know this placement for VTSG and all the Paragons might not be the most ideal, but I wanted something that had most straight line action. So we rearrange a bit get some more debuffers, which I will ultra boost and give everything. A super brittle on the water, mostly so that it can get within VTSG range, along with 3 embrittlements across the track. Primary expertise to help the range of the brittles in the front, along with a glue storm at the side here. The damage here is pretty negligible, and I'm sure it'll add up, but honestly, compared to the billions of damage that the Paragons will do later, it's pretty insignificant, so primary expertise doesn't really matter. PS, I'm also keeping this banana farmer. It's important for damage, I swear.
Hi.
Triple Moab chilling at the back here. Once I can get all stacks on all my towers, then I'll actually get rid of Ultra Boost, and I'm going to overclock everything for full uptime. I'm aware that there's 100% uptime now for Ultra Boost, but I actually wanted to try and do more of a run for Paragon of Power. I do tech bot everything, and Goliath is at the back of the map with full map Carpet of Bomb, while also being on Wing Monkey. And again, every other Paragon is mostly in the middle to get as much range as possible. Even EZILI will be on strong as well, because fortified bads are the problem. For Navark, I set a bit of an ambush, so hopefully I can get more fortified bads. No guarantee, as I'm going to play this overnight for sure, and there's no way I can play this in just a few hours. Also, a little column of tech bots here to show where the last bad will exit, and now we play. After moving my permabrew around and my brittles and everything else, we're looking pretty good to go. The sub-Paragon won't be doing much damage here, but I can tell you right off the bat, holy crap, look at these cooldowns. It's so fast, although I'm pretty sure it's the same as Energizer. Also, just to make sure I have enough lives for EZILI's totems, I do end up buying a Wall Street, although it doesn't really matter that much. Thankfully, each round doesn't actually take that long because there's a lot less towers doing damage, so there isn't as much lag. Actually, getting into the 400 only takes about 4 to 5 hours or so, which is actually quite amazing. That doesn't matter, because once we hit the 500s, oh boy, here we go. Still not as bad as my normal runs. Usually they take days, but this one actually got to round 600 in about 12 hours, which is pretty amazing. Probably due to the less calculations that this run needs to do. Again, considering only 10 towers are really doing most of the damage. I really wish I could have had a BMA here just to clean up everything, but again, not really necessary. You have 3 Paragons that are stunning, track is way too long, I'm probably not going to die to any of those. So really quickly in the comments, I will be doing 2 runs as I mentioned. First, a Sun Temple version and a Ninja version. Comment below and let me know which one you would like me to do first. And that will probably end up taking most of my time for the next little while, as I try to focus and optimize as much as possible. But let's chat about some stuff really quick that makes these runs on Challenge Editor a little bit different than a normal run. I believe these runs, because they're on Map Editor and not one of Ninja Kiwi's dedicated maps, they're more tied with the actual server. And usually I know people end up doing a lot of save states for these runs, but from what I've tested and seen, you can't actually save state any of these runs, unless I did it incorrectly, but I'm pretty sure I did it. With that in mind, you can only do these runs like one and done, so if you crash, it's over. The next point I actually want to chat about is what I left off on earlier, and it's why don't I just do a full run now? And for this reason, it's actually the map. So if you see right now, I have a pretty weird setup in terms of land composition to water composition. This is not optimal at all, to say the least. Currently my VTSG is on water to get the carrier flagship buff, but if I want to have a more optimal map, I would put small patches of water across the map so that there's sun temples on every single one. This is so that every single sun temple can get a carrier flagship buff because they're quote-unquote a water tower. But you also need to juggle the ability to be able to fit farming properly without impeding too much on farming because, again, everything is very expensive. So it's kind of hard to say what you need, what you don't. Again, that will be a future video. And one last point, as we finalize and we reach the end of 600 here. I actually know I can buy and resell EZILI as well, considering, if you see here, I have way too much cash. But I decide not to for this run. And I want to see how much EZILI does just raw. I know ultimately it would be better and I can push the rounds further if I buy and resell, but again, main reason is I want to save that for a future run because the future run is going to be insane. There's one run I also want to do that is late game, but with a slight twist that I have in mind, and you probably don't even know you want it, but I already know for a fact that you want it when you see it. It's kind of weird to say, but just trust me here. And somewhere at the beginning of the 600s, I actually stop my Navark on TechBot, and I actually start using its ability to time a bit more properly so that I can get proper damage on the bat. So now let's montage and explore, shall we, into this newfound territory of the 600s, potentially even 700s. As things move along, their HP ramping is insanely fast now, and they're only getting faster and faster. I think we'll actually die to a bad being way too fast and way too tanky a lot quicker than we think. But we can only hope. And for now, let's push into the 700s. We make it all the way to round 720. So it looks like this is the furthest we can go with these 10 towers and a lot of support. So let's review now, shall we, on pop counts. So VTSG now is at 88 billion, holding us strong as always. All the DPS here is just pure raw DPS. Sub Paragon, pretty underwhelming right now at 6.5 billion, but I think there still needs to be a bit more testing and maybe a bit more balancing out on Ninja Kiwi's part, but we'll see. Maybe this is actually how they intended it. I think a lot of people are complaining that it's terrible, but I don't think it is. Navark at 220 billion. Holy moly. Good job, Navark. Magus Perfectus at 44 billion. Apex is actually doing very well at 63 billion, but the map was also designed for Apex, so if it didn't do damage, I'd actually be more disappointed than anything. Sended Shadow at 165 billion, also keeping us very alive with the innate Grand Sabo ability. Glaive Dominus at 22 billion, Goliath at 61 billion. I noticed it actually did about the same as Apex, and it actually kept up. It just stayed like 1 or 2 billion behind of it. NG Paragon at 29 billion. And finally, EZILI with essentially more than a third of a trillion pots. That's insane. Almost 400 billion. I'm actually more convinced the more I play with EZILI that maybe EZILI is better with ninjas, but to be fair, VTSG would also do double the damage with Sun Temples and Adora, so it's always hard to say. But thanks for watching again. Comment below if you think I should do a Sun Temple run first or a ninja run. Don't forget to like and subscribe as always, and I will see you all in the next video.